Late Night Stories. Judge Judy vs. The Blue Man Group. The Case of the Flying Paint. It was an ordinary day in Judge Judy's courtroom, or so she thought. The gavel came down sharply as the bailiff called the next case. All rise. The People vs. The Blue Man Group. In walked three mute, blue-painted men, each carrying a peculiar assortment of props. PVC pipes, buckets of paint, and a strange contraption resembling a homemade xylophone. Their silent demeanor and exaggerated expressions immediately piqued the judge's curiosity. All right, who's suing who? Judge Judy demanded, peering over her glasses. The plaintiff, a prim and proper woman named Margaret Perkins, stepped forward. Your Honor, I'm suing these blue hooligans for damages. Their ridiculous performance at the theater splattered paint all over my new Chanel suit. The Blue Man Group exchanged glances, drumming their fingers rhythmically on the edge of their table. They offered no verbal response, only tilting their heads quizzically. Mrs. Perkins, let me understand this clearly, Judge Judy said, leaning forward. You attended a performance known for its interactive art and paint splatter, yet you wore an expensive suit. Well, yes, but I didn't expect this level of mess. Margaret huffed. They even painted the front row audience as part of their act. The courtroom burst into laughter. Judge Judy silenced the crowd with a sharp rap of her gavel. Quiet. And you three, she pointed at the Blue Man Group, are you planning to defend yourselves? Or are you going to mime your way through this? One of the blue men nodded enthusiastically, pulling out a small drum. He tapped it rapidly, producing a series of beats that seemed to translate into Morse code. The court stenographer looked panicked. Enough, Judge Judy said, cutting through the chaos. Do you or do you not accept responsibility for ruining this woman's suit? The tallest of the group stood up, held up a can of paint, and slowly poured it over his head in an act of protest. Judge Judy sighed deeply, pinching the bridge of her nose. Bailiff, bring me the performance contract these three had with the venue. After a brief review, the judge found the fine print. Audience members may experience direct interaction with performers, including exposure to paint and other materials. Mrs. Perkins, Judge Judy began, it's clear that you attended this show at your own risk. You didn't read the fine print, and that's on you. Case dismissed. The Blue Man Group celebrated with an impromptu drum solo on the witness stand, banging on the desk with their drumsticks and tossing marshmallows into the audience. Bailiff, Judge Judy growled, get them out of my courtroom before they turn this into a circus. As the blue men were escorted out, they saluted Judge Judy with a synchronized bow. Margaret Perkins, now indignant and covered in courtroom laughter, stormed out in a huff. Judge Judy sighed again. Next case, please. And let's keep the paint to a minimum this time. Prank caller and hot-headed man. In a tale of escalation. It all began innocently enough, or as innocent as a prank call could be. Larry, a habitual prankster with a mischievous streak a mile wide, had stumbled upon the number of Walter, a notoriously hot-headed man known around town for his temper. Hello. Walter answered gruffly. Yes, this is Mr. Finkelstein from the Department of Nonsense Complaints, Larry began in an over-the-top nasal voice. We've received reports of you hoarding rubber ducks in your bathtub. What? Who the hell is this? Walter barked. Larry kept going, undeterred by Walter's rising frustration. We'll be sending an inspector shortly. Please have the ducks arranged alphabetically by color. Walter hung up in a rage. But that was only the beginning. Larry, sensing a goldmine of entertainment, called Walter again a few minutes later, this time pretending to be a debt collector. You owe $12,000 for a luxury yacht rental you booked last week, Larry said, barely suppressing his laughter. I don't even own a yacht. Walter screamed. Well, the paperwork says otherwise, Larry replied coolly. Perhaps you'd like to discuss this with the repo team. They'll be arriving in an hour. Walter slammed the phone down again. Over the course of the day, Larry took things to the next level. First, he called the fire department, reporting a fictitious blaze at Walter's address. Moments later, a plumber arrived, claiming Walter had requested emergency service for a broken toilet. Then came the pizza guy, juggling 6 extra-large pepperoni pizzas Walter hadn't ordered. The police showed up next, responding to a noise complaint. And just when Walter thought the chaos was over, A Russian mail-order bride named Svetlana arrived at his doorstep, suitcase in hand. Furious and overwhelmed, Walter's face was as red as a stop sign. And then his phone rang again. "What the hell do you want now?" Walter roared, picking up the receiver. "Did everything arrive on time?" Larry asked, unable to contain his laughter. "You've crossed the line," Walter shouted. "I've hired a hitman, and he's looking for you. You won't think it's so funny when he finds you." "Oh, a hitman," Larry replied, feigning fear. "Is he as bad at directions as you are at controlling your temper?" The two argued back and forth, Walter hurling threats while Larry responded with sarcastic quips. Finally, Walter screamed, "You better watch your back. This isn't over." Larry chuckled and replied, "I'll be sure to make another appointment. See you soon." Before hanging up. As the call ended, Larry leaned back in his chair, pleased with himself. But for the first time, he wondered if maybe, just maybe, he'd gone a little too far. Meanwhile, Walter sat fuming, staring at the chaos outside his house. One thing was certain. This wasn't the last time their paths would cross.